Stephen Paul Jobs, February 24, 1955, October 5, 2011, was one of the founding partners of Apple Computer, Incorporated. Until 5 weeks before his death, Apple Incorporated from the CEO, he served as. He is considered to be one of the leaders of the computer industry. He also founded Next Computer and Pixar Animation Studios and served as the chairman of the board. He caught pancreatic cancer in the years he led Apple Company to the top and died at the age of 56 in 7 years. In the late 1970s, together with fellow co-founder Steve Wozniak, he designed one of the first personal computers to be commercially successful. Jobs in the early 1980s, mouse and used with GUI, graphical user interface, which takes place between those who realize the commercial potential. Jobs was removed from the Apple board of directors after a power struggle on the board in 1985. He founded NeXT Computer Company aiming to produce a computer platform for higher education and business world. In 1986, it bought Pixar from Lucasfilm Company. Apple Computer in 1997. Jobs returned to the company he founded after his company bought NeXT. Since then he has worked as the Chief Executive Officer, CEO. Fortune magazine named Steve Jobs as the most powerful businessman in 2007. Jobs acquired Pixar Animation Studios in 1986, formerly the computer graphics division of Lucasfilm. He was the company's CEO and largest shareholder until it was acquired by the Walt Disney Company in 2006. He became the largest natural person shareholder and board member of the Walt Disney Corporation until Jobs passed away. Jobs' background in the business world is rife with rumors of his unorthodox individual Silicon Valley entrepreneur personality. Emphasizes the importance of design by knowing well the role of aesthetics in creating the center of social interest. It has gained a loyal fan base thanks to its development of functional and elegant products. He was born in Green Bay, Wisconsin, to American Joanne Carol Sabel and to Syrian-born political science professor Abdul Fattah John Jangli. Adopted by couple Paul Jobs and Clara Jobs Jacobian from Mountain View, California. His own sister is novelist Mona Simpson. In 1972, Steve Jobs applied to Reed College in Portland, Oregon, after graduating from Homestead High School in Cupertino, California, but left after a period of time. In the fall of 1974, Steve Jobs returned to California to attend the meetings of the Homebrew Computer Club with Steve Wozniak. He and Wozniak got a job as a game designer at Atari Incorporated, one of the then famous computer game makers. At that time, The whistles that came out of Captain Crunch's sold in the USA were able to sound 2600 Hz, which is the monitoring frequency of long-distance calls by AT&T, when minor changes were made on them. In a short time, Jobs and Wozniak started their business life in 1974 and introduced blue boxes to make expensive long-distance calls for free. In 1976, when Jobs 21 was 26 in Wozniak, he founded Apple Computer Company in the Jobs family garage. The first home computer they released was Apple I, and they were selling it for $666.66. In 1977, Jobs and Wozniak introduced the Apple II. At that time the Apple II had taken a prominent place in the home market and consolidated Apple's place in the computer market. In December 1980, Apple Computer went public and entered the market with very good values. In the same year, Apple Computer released the Apple III, but this model could not replace its predecessor. As Apple continued to grow, a manager was sought that could enable the company's expansion. In 1983, Jobs seduced John Sculley, then CEO of Pepsi-Cola, and asked, "Do you want to sell only sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to change the world?" In the form of Apple's new CEO. In the same year, Apple released the technologically advanced but commercially unsuccessful Apple Lisa. Introduced in 1984, the Macintosh was the first GUI computer to have enjoyed commercial success on the market. The development of the Mac was initiated by Jeff Raskin and was inspired by technologies developed in Xerox PARC, but not commercialized. The success of the Macintosh has continued, and continues to this day, with Apple removing the Apple II series and offering Mac products instead. Leaving Apple. Steve Jobs was a convincing and charismatic advocate for Apple, and according to the criticism he was also a disorganized and ambitious manager. In 1985, as a result of an internal fight, Jobs was withdrawn from his duties by Sculley and expelled. But it's worth noting that until 5 weeks before his death, Jobs was president of Apple Computer. After quitting Apple, Jobs founded another computer company, NeXT Computer. NeXT was technologically very advanced like Lisa, but it was never recognizable except in scientific fields. For example, Tim Berners-Lee developed the original World Wide Web system on an NeXT computer at CERN. Although not recognized, it has helped in the development of object-oriented programming, PostScript representation and magneto-optical drive technologies. A lot of innovations in NeXT will be seen in Mac OS X in the early 2000s. NextStep and its successor, OpenStep, were running on x86 architecture and then PowerPC architecture. Return to Apple. In 1996, the Apple company bought NeXT for $429 million to bring Jobs back to the company he founded. With careful planning and a move within the company, then CEO Gil Amelio is fired. Steve Jobs was elected interim CEO of Apple in 1997. As a result of the purchase of NeXT, many technologies have been used in Apple products. The most obvious example of these is the development of Next Step and the writing of Mac OS X. Under Jobs' management, Apple increased sales incredibly with the launch of the iMac. Since then, the products launched have benefited Apple greatly with their eye-catching designs and brand strengthening. Jobs took the company beyond the range of products that had been limited to personal computers in the past years. With the launch of the iPod portable music player, iTunes has tapped into the personal electronics and online music markets by launching digital music software available for other operating platforms and opening the iTunes online music store. While Jobs encourages his employees to be innovative, with messages like "Real artists ship," he states that timely delivery of a product is as important as innovation and extraordinary designs. Jobs worked at Apple for several years for $1 a year, which also earned him the title of lowest paid CEO on the Guinness World Records list. Apple removed the word temporary from its title when its earnings soared and the company began to navigate their zone of pros instead of cons. In 1999, a $90 million jet and about $30 million of limited shares were gifted by the company. In 1986, Jobs and Edwin Catmull jointly founded Pixar, an animation studio in Emeryville, California. The company was originally built on the computer graphics division of Lucasfilm. Jobs bought this episode from Lucasfilm for $10 million, one-third of the requested amount, from George Lucas, who owns it. The company nearly 10 years after the explosion of Toy Story were made with. Since 1998 A Bug's Life, 1999 Toy Story 2, Monsters, Incorporated, 2003 Finding Nemo and 2004 Incredibles has awarded prizes to films. In 2006, Cars was nominated for 2 Oscars, and in 2007, Ratatouille won an Oscar for the Best Animation. Finding Nemo and The Incredible Family won an award for Best Animated Film at the Academy Awards. Resignation from Apple. Apple Computer on CEO's hood duties on the 25th of August 2011 from his position due to health problems and was separated, replaced by Tim Cook to the left. He continued as chairman of the board of directors at Apple Computer until his death. Personal life and death. Steve Jobs married Laureen Powell on March 18, 1991. He had 3 children from this marriage. He also has a daughter, Lisa Jobs, who was born out of wedlock in 1978. Jobs were vegetarian, but he ate fish. On July 31, 2004, Jobs underwent surgery to remove a cancer tumor in his pancreas. A rare pancreatic cancer with the scientific name islet cell neuroendocrine tumor was found at Jobs. Chemotherapy or radiation therapy was not needed for this type of cancer found at Jobs. During his absence, Tim Cook, head of the World Sales and Administration Department, ran Apple. Jobs began receiving cancer treatment in 2004. In 2009, he received a liver transplant. Jobs, who took leave in January 2011, citing health problems for the 3rd time in recent years, announced that he left the company's board of directors on August 24, 2011 and left the task to Tim Cook. But in a statement released by his family on October 5, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away in silence by family members. Explanation was made. Tim Cook said they learned the news with great sadness. Apple has lost a visionary person and a creative genius. The world has lost an incredible person, said Steve Jobs is the co-founder of Apple, which created an alternative to the mainstream personal computer. His inventions at Apple, such as the iMac, iPod, iPad and iPhone, were the driving forces behind Apple's climb to becoming the most valuable publicly traded company in 2011. Steve Jobs passed away in 2011 at age 56 of respiratory arrest related to a pancreatic tumor that was diagnosed in 2003. In 2010, 1 year before his death, his net worth was $8.3 billion. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet death is the destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it. And that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It is life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Creative genius, the world has lost an incredible person, said. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. Be a yardstick of quality. some people aren't used to an environment where excellence is expected. Creativity is just connecting things. When you ask creative people how they did something, they feel a little guilty because they didn't really do it, they just saw something. It seemed obvious to them after a while. That's because they were able to connect experiences they've had and synthesize new things. My favorite things in life don't cost any money. It's really clear that the most precious resource we all have is time. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. For the past 33 years, I have looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. You can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down, and it has made all the difference in my life. That's been one of my mantras, focus and simplicity. Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple. But it's worth it in the end because once you get there, you can move mountains. Design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works. Everyone here has the sense that right now is one of those moments when we are influencing the future. Sometimes when you innovate, you make mistakes. It is best to admit them quickly, and get on with improving your other innovations. Bottom line is, I didn't return to Apple to make a fortune. I've been very lucky in my life and already have one. When I was 25, my net worth was $100 million or so. I decided then that I wasn't going to let it ruin my life. There's no way you could ever spend it all, and I don't view wealth as something that validates my intelligence. Sometimes life hits you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. Technology is nothing. What's important is that you have a faith in people, that they're basically good and smart, and if you give them tools, they'll do wonderful things with them. Computers themselves, and software yet to be developed, will revolutionize the way we learn. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And, like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. The overall point is that new technology will not necessarily replace old technology, but it will date it. By definition. Eventually, it will replace it. But it's like people who had black and white TVs when color came out. They eventually decided whether or not the new technology was worth the investment. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. Being the richest man in the cemetery doesn't matter to me. Going to bed at night saying we've done something wonderful, that's what matters to me. Stay hungry, stay foolish. A lot of people in our industry haven't had very diverse experiences. So they don't have enough dots to connect, and they end up with very linear solutions without a broad perspective on the problem. The broader one's understanding of the human experience, the better design we will have. Design is a funny word. Some people think design means how it looks. But of course, if you dig deeper, it's really how it works. Our DNA is as a consumer company, for that individual customer who's voting thumbs up or thumbs down. That's who we think about. And we think that our job is to take responsibility for the complete user experience. And if it's not up to par, it's our fault, plain and simply. It's hard to tell with these internet startups if they're really interested in building companies or if they're just interested in the money. I can tell you, though, if they don't really want to build a company, they won't look into it. That's because it's so hard that if you don't have a passion, you'll give up. I have a great respect for incremental improvement, and I've done that sort of thing in my life, but I've always been attracted to the more revolutionary changes. I don't know why. Because they're harder. They're much more stressful emotionally. and you usually go through a period where everybody tells you that you've completely failed. Innovation has nothing to do with how many R&D dollars you have. When Apple came up with the Mac, IBM was spending at least 100 times more on R&D. It's not about money. It's about the people you have, how you're led, and how much you get it. Design is the fundamental soul of a man-made creation that ends up expressing itself in successive outer layers of the product or service. The iMac is not just the color or translucence or the shape of the shell. The essence of the iMac is to be the finest possible consumer computer in which each element plays together. The most compelling reason for most people to buy a computer for the home will be to link it to a nationwide communications network. We're just in the beginning stages of what will be a truly remarkable breakthrough for most people, as remarkable as the telephone. These technologies can make life easier, can let us touch people we might not otherwise. You may have a child with a birth defect and be able to get in touch with other parents and support groups, get medical information, the latest experimental drugs. These things can profoundly influence life. I'm not downplaying that. I think it's brought the world a lot closer together, and will continue to do that. There are downsides to everything, there are unintended consequences to everything. The most corrosive piece of technology that I've ever seen is called television, but then, again, television, at its best, is magnificent. An iPod, a phone, an internet mobile communicator. These are not three separate devices. And we are calling it iPhone. Today Apple is going to reinvent the phone. And here it is. But innovation comes from people meeting up in the hallways or calling each other at 10:30 at night with a new idea, or because they realized something that shoots holes in how we've been thinking about a problem. Japan's very interesting. Some people think it copies things. I don't think that anymore. I think what they do is reinvent things. They will get something that's already been invented and study it until they thoroughly understand it. In some cases, they understand it better than the original inventor. Older people sit down and ask, "What is it?" But the boy asks, "What can I do with it?" I met was when I was 13, at a friend's garage. He was about 18. He was, like, the first person I met who knew more electronics than I did at that point. We became good friends, because we shared an interest in computers and we had a sense of humor. We pulled all kinds of pranks together. We've demonstrated a strong track record of being very disciplined with the use of our cash. We don't let it burn a hole in our pocket, we don't allow it to motivate us to do stupid acquisitions. And so I think that we'd like to continue to keep our powder dry, because we do feel that there are one or more strategic opportunities in the future. There's no other company that could make a MacBook Air, and the reason is that not only do we control the hardware, but we control the operating system. And it is the intimate interaction between the operating system and the hardware that allows us to do that. There is no intimate interaction between Windows and a Dell notebook. First was the mouse. The second was the click wheel. And now, we're going to bring multi-touch to the market. And each of these revolutionary interfaces has made possible a revolutionary product, the Mac, the iPod, and now the iPhone. I'm an optimist in the sense that I believe humans are noble and honorable, and some of them are really smart. I have a very optimistic view of individuals. I think right now it's a battle for the mind share of developers and for the mind share of customers, and right now iPhone and Android are winning that battle. With our technology, with objects, literally 3 people in a garage can blow away what 200 people at Microsoft can do. Literally can blow it away. Corporate America has a need that is so huge and can save them so much money, or make them so much money, or cost them so much money if they miss it, that they are going to fuel the object revolution. Microsoft has had 2 goals in the last 10 years. One was to copy the Mac, and the other was to copy Lotus' success in the spreadsheet, basically, the applications business. And over the course of the last 10 years, Microsoft accomplished both of those goals. And now they are completely lost. The system is that there is no system. That doesn't mean we don't have process. Apple is a very disciplined company, and we have great processes. But that's not what it's about. Process makes you more efficient. You can't just ask customers what they want and then try to give that to them. By the time you get it built, they'll want something new. What we want to do is make a leapfrog product that is way smarter than any mobile device has ever been, and super easy to use. This is what iPhone is. Okay. So, we're going to reinvent the phone. When you're a carpenter making a beautiful chest of drawers, you're not going to use a piece of plywood on the back, even though it faces the wall and nobody will ever see it. you'll know it's there, so you're going to use a beautiful piece of wood on the back. It's not about charisma and personality, it's about results and products and those very bedrock things that are why people at Apple and outside of Apple are getting more excited about the company and what Apple stands for and what its potential is to contribute to the industry. Most people have no concept of how an automatic transmission works, yet they know how to drive a car. You don't have to study physics to understand the laws of motion to drive a car. You don't have to understand any of this stuff to use Macintosh. It's not a faith in technology. It's faith in people. You know, my main reaction to this money thing is that it's humorous, all the attention to it, because it's hardly the most insightful or valuable thing that's happened to me. And it comes from saying no to 1,000 things to make sure we don't get on the wrong track or try to do too much. We're always thinking about new markets we could enter, but it's only by saying no that you can concentrate on the things that are really important. Pointing is a metaphor we all know. We've done a lot of studies and tests on that, and it's much faster to do all kinds of functions, such as cutting and pasting, with a mouse, so it's not only easy to use but more efficient. Apple's market share is bigger than BMW's or Mercedes's or Porsche's in the automotive market. What's wrong with being BMW or Mercedes? As individuals, people are inherently good. I have a somewhat more pessimistic view of people in groups. And I remain extremely concerned when I see what's happening in our country, which is in many ways the luckiest place in the world. We don't seem to be excited about making our country a better place for our kids. A lot of companies have chosen to downsize, and maybe that was the right thing for them. We chose a different path. Our belief was that if we kept puffing great products in front of customers, they would continue to open their wallets. I'm sorry, it's true. Having children really changes your view on these things. We're born, we live for a brief instant, and we die. It's been happening for a long time. Technology is not changing it much, if at all. The desktop computer industry is dead. Innovation has virtually ceased. Microsoft dominates with very little innovation. That's over. Apple lost. The desktop market has entered the dark ages, and it's going to be in the dark ages for the next 10 years, or certainly for the rest of this decade. For you to sleep well at night, the aesthetic, the quality, has to be carried all the way through. We don't get a chance to do that many things, and everyone should be really excellent. Because this is our life. Life is brief, and then you die, you know? So this is what we've chosen to do with our life. Things don't have to change the world to be important. When you're young, you look at television and think, there's a conspiracy. The networks have conspired to dumb us down. But when you get a little older, you realize that's not true. The networks are in business to give people exactly what they want. This is what customers pay us for, to sweat all these details so it's easy and pleasant for them to use our computers. We're supposed to be really good at this. That doesn't mean we don't listen to customers, but it's hard for them to tell you what they want when they've never seen anything remotely like it. Pretty much, Apple and Dell are the only ones in this industry making money. They make it by being Walmart. We make it by innovation. We're just enthusiastic about what we do. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. This revolution, the information revolution, is a revolution of free energy as well, but of another kind, free intellectual energy. It's very crude today, yet our Macintosh computer takes less power than a 100-watt bulb to run it, and it can save you hours a day. What will it be able to do 10 or 20 years from now, or 50 years from now? The manual for WordStar, the most popular word processing program, is 400 pages thick. To write a novel, you have to read a novel, one that reads like a mystery to most people. They're not going to learn /QZ any more than they're going to learn Morse code. That is what Macintosh is all about. In most people's vocabularies, design means veneer. It's interior decorating. It's the fabric of the curtains and the sofa. But to me, nothing could be further from the meaning of design. The design of the Mac wasn't what it looked like, although that was part of it. Primarily, it was how it worked. To design something really well, you have to get it. You have to really grok what it's all about. It takes a passionate commitment to really thoroughly understand something, chew it up, not just quickly swallow it. to turn really interesting ideas and fledgling technologies into a company that can continue to innovate for years, it requires a lot of disciplines. It's not the tools that you have faith in, tools are just tools. They work, or they don't work. It's people you have faith in or not. Yeah, sure, I'm still optimistic. I mean, I get pessimistic sometimes, but not for long. We want to reinvent the phone. What's the killer app? The killer app is making calls. It's amazing how hard it is to make calls on most phones. We want to let you use contacts like never before, sync your iPhone with your PC or Mac. So when these people sell out, even though they get fabulously rich, they're gypping themselves out of one of the potentially most rewarding experiences of their unfolding lives. Without it, they may never know their values or how to keep their newfound wealth in perspective. And no, we don't know where it will lead. We just know there's something much bigger than any of us here. I get asked a lot why Apple's customers are so loyal. It's not because they belong to the Church of Mac. That's ridiculous. We think the Mac will sell zillions, but we didn't build the Mac for anybody else. We built it for ourselves. We were the group of people who were going to judge whether it was great or not. We weren't going to go out and do market research. We just wanted to build the best thing we could build. The people who are doing the work are the moving force behind the Macintosh. My job is to create a space for them, to clear out the rest of the organization and keep it at bay. Our goal is to make the best devices in the world, not to be the biggest. It is piracy, not overt online music stores, which is our main competitor. But Apple really beats to a different drummer. I used to say that Apple should be the Sony of this business, but in reality, I think Apple should be the Apple of this business. We hire people who want to make the best things in the world. The engineering is long gone in most PC companies. In the consumer electronics companies, they don't understand the software parts of it. And so you really can't make the products that you can make at Apple anywhere else right now. Apple's the only company that has everything under one roof. We made the buttons on the screen look so good you'll want to lick them. I've always wanted to own and control the primary technology in everything we do. You'll see more and more perfection of that, computer as servant. But the next thing is going to be computer as a guide, our agent. The 7-inch tablets are tweeners, too big to compete with a smartphone, and too small to compete with an iPad. I don't think I've ever worked so hard on something, but working on Macintosh was the neatest experience of my life. Almost everyone who worked on it will say that. None of us wanted to release it at the end. It was as though we knew that once it was out of our hands, it wouldn't be ours anymore. Each year has been so robust with problems and successes and learning experiences and human experiences that a year is a lifetime at Apple. So this has been 10 lifetimes. It took us 3 years to build an EXT computer. If we'd given customers what they said they wanted, we'd have built a computer they'd have been happy with a year after we spoke to them, not something they'd want now. Well, Apple invented the PC as we know it, and then it invented the graphical user interface as we know it 8 years later, with the introduction of the Mac. But then, the company had a decade in which it took a nap. I'll always stay connected with Apple. I hope that throughout my life I'll sort of have the thread of my life and the thread of Apple weave in and out of each other, like a tapestry. There may be a few years when I'm not there, but I'll always come back. Now, we are selling over 5 million songs a day now. Isn't that unbelievable? That's 58 songs every second of every minute of every hour of every day. The desktop metaphor was invented because 1, you were a standalone device, and 2, you had to manage your own storage. That's a very big thing in a desktop world. And that may go away. You may not have to manage your own storage. You may not store much before too long. So let's not use a stylus. We're going to use the best pointing device in the world. We're going to use a pointing device that we're all born with 10 of them. We're going to use our fingers. We're going to touch this with our fingers. And we have invented a new technology called multi-touch, which is phenomenal. It works like magic. I'm very excited about having the internet in my den. It takes these very simple-minded instructions: go fetch a number, add it to this number, put the result there, perceive if it's greater than this other number, but executes them at a rate of, let's say, 1 million per second. At 1 million per second, the results appear to be magic. We think Android is very, very fragmented, and becoming more fragmented by the day. And as you know, Apple strives for the integrated model so that the user isn't forced to be the system's integrator. Who wants a stylus? You have to get M and put M away, and you lose M. Yuck. Nobody wants a stylus. Woz is living his own life now. He hasn't been around Apple for about 5 years. But what he did will go down in history. The reason we wouldn't make a 7-inch tablet isn't because we don't want to hit a price point, it's because we don't think you can make a great tablet with a 7-inch screen. We're going to be able to ask our computers to monitor things for us, and when certain conditions happen, are triggered, the computers will take certain actions and inform us after the fact. I want to put a ding in the universe. I think we're having fun. I think our customers really like our products. And we're always trying to do better.